Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the most powerful part of the speech. Yes, you know that. Verbs. I call verbs as the most powerful part of the speech just because there are no tenses without it and there are no sentences without verbs in English. We all know that when we were introduced to verbs or when we introduce verbs to someone else, we just taught we were taught that verbs are simply the action words. Any action that you do from the time you are born are called verbs. It can be seeing, listening, reading, jumping, eating, anything. Anything can be termed as a verb. The funnier part is even not doing anything, something like resting, sleeping, all these are verbs as well. So, verbs are going to be very interesting. There is a lot to learn about verbs. Let's see what. Verbs, though they are introduced to us just as action words, there is a lot to learn. In today's video, I am just going to discuss the verbs classifications based on the functions they do. Well, let's get into the first category of verbs, first classification of verbs based on the functions. That is main verb. Main verbs are also called as principal verbs or they are also called as lexical verbs. These are just different names given to the main verb, principal verbs or lexical verbs. These are the very primary verbs which mean the action. This is what we have been telling our students, that these are the main verbs or the action words. Any words that we use to show an action, it can be jump, run, walk, sleep, breathe, think, anything it can be. It can be a physical action, it can be a mental action, emotional action, anything that can be called as a main verb or a principal verb. We understood that the first classification, main verb or the principal verb or lexical verbs are simply the action words. When it is an action, it has to have a time related to it. Action must have happened at some time. It may be in the past, it may be present, and it may be in the future. So times are associated with actions. When a work is done, it must be associated with time. Then whatever we do now is the present form. So all these the action words that we listed so far, run, jump, etc., these are all the present form of the verb which we call as V1. This is the first form or the root form or the present form. So V1, we call it as verb 1 form, V1 in English grammar. Then if an action has already taken place, if it is already done in the past, maybe 1 hour ago or yesterday or last week or last year, etc., so then we should show that action in the past tense. So the past tense form is called as V2 form. V2 form is a past tense form. If give is the present form, V1 form, gave becomes the past tense form. I gave my pen to him last week. So last week is the past, so gave is a word we should use. Coming to the third form, third form we call it as past participle form, or we simply call it as V3 because this is the third form, past participle. If present form is give, past form is gave, the past participle form is given. Given. When do we use past participle form? We use past participle forms in our sentence to indicate an action that is completed but that is expecting some other action to happen next. So I have given my pen to him and I am expecting next action, that is he should return it to me, that is the next action. So given or the V3 form is used in such cases. And last one, fourth one is present participle form. We normally add ing to the first form to make it present participle form, or what we call V4 form. Give is the root word, giving is the V4 or present participle form. When do we use present participle form? When an action is not completed, when it is going on, then we say ing. Okay. So ing is used for continuing actions, not the completed actions, for the continuing actions. We are going to learn more about tenses maybe in the next videos, but as of now, I just would like to end here. Grammarians in the advanced grammar concepts, they add some other verb forms, V5, V6, but let me cut short here for easy understanding. So, V1 give, V2 gave, V3 given, V4 giving. After understanding or after seeing the classifications within the main function, main verbs, we are going to learn about the next category called as auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also called as supporting verbs or helping verbs. Whom do they help and how do they help? They help main verbs. They help main verbs with some additional details. What are the details that they are going to add or what functions they perform? They perform the function of telling how many people are doing the work. Is it only one person or multiple people? And at what time the work is or was done? Is it being done now or was it already done or will it be done in the future? Then it also tells about the mood of the action. What do we mean by the mood of the action? Whether the person who is doing the action is doing that action in an angry mood, in a requesting mood, in an ordering mood, or whatever mood that is. So they are going to tell about the mood of the action. So we are going to quickly learn all these under the heading called as auxiliary verbs. In this video I am going to brief it and I will explain it in detail in the next video. Well, primarily the auxiliary verbs are divided into two classifications or two subdivisions again. Auxiliary verbs are divided into one, primary auxiliary verbs, and next, modals. What are primary auxiliary verbs? Let us look at an example. We have a main verb called as eat. When the action is not completed, we use the fourth form, that is eating. If it is eating, is it enough to just say eating? We should know who is eating it. So we add some name to that. Okay, who is doing that action? We call it as a subject. For example, let us say Rakshita eating. Rakshita eating. Okay, so we have something called as Rakshita eating, but we want to know eating work is not completed. Is it not completed now or was it not completed earlier? To indicate that, we have to use a word in between Rakshita and eating. We call it as the auxiliary verb or the primary auxiliary verb or the helping verb. The main verb is eating. To help this main verb to tell when that eating process was going on, we add something called as auxiliary verb. This sentence is complete only when we say Rakshita is eating a mango. So is the word which is called as an auxiliary verb or a helping verb. It is helping the main verb by telling when the action is done. Is it being done now or was it being done previously? For example, if I have to make a sentence, a meaningful sentence, that is I just want to convey, when I went to her house, Rakshita was doing the work of eating a mango. So how do we do that? How do we tell that? I can say Rakshita was eating a mango when I visited her house. Rakshita was eating. Now the work, it's not continuing work now. It was continuing. The work was being done at that time when I went to Rakshita's house. So to tell that, was is the helping verb. What was is telling? Was is telling the time. It is not now. It is at that time. Yesterday when I went to her house, she was eating a mango. So I can't just say Rakshita eating a mango. Rakshita eating a mango, although we know who is eating a mango, although we know what action is done, that is eating is action done, we still can't say what time the work happened or work is happening. So to tell that, we have to use an auxiliary verb called as was. Rakshita was eating a mango when I visited her house. Then I can just say was is the auxiliary verb which is telling the time. It was done in the past. It was continuing in the past. So auxiliary verbs, primary auxiliary verbs are useful in telling the time and in determining how many people were doing. For example, if it is not only Rakshita, if it is Rakshita along with her brother Prajwal were doing this work, I can say Rakshita and Prajwal were eating mangoes when I visited them. So were is the WVRE. Were is a auxiliary verb that I use to indicate that many people are eating and they were eating in the past, not now. And the action is not complete because I am using ing form. So main verb and auxiliary verb together, they make complete sense. So main verbs do not make sense themselves in some cases. So we have to take the help of auxiliary verbs, or what we call them as helping verbs or supporting verbs. The primary auxiliary verbs are, for easy understanding, we divide them into three groups. First one is called as B group, BE group. Under BE group we have is, am, are, was, were, be, being, been. These 8 come under the B group, BE group. Then the next group is called as have group. Under have group we again have 3. One is have, has and had. Then the third and the last group is called as do group. Under the do group we have do, does and did. So overall there are 14 primary auxiliary verbs that we need to remember under B group, under have group, under do group. Let me just repeat. Under B group we have is, am, are, was, were, be, being, been. Under have group we have has, have, had. And at last under did group, do group we have do, does and did. These 4 auxiliary verbs help the main verb in conveying the complete meaning, to tell that how many people are doing the action and when they are doing the action. So under auxiliary verbs we have completed the first part called as primary auxiliary verbs. We saw 14 primary auxiliary verbs under 3 groups. Now we are going to move on to the next category or next subcategory of the auxiliary verbs, which are called as modals. MODALS, modals. What are modals? The word model is from the root word mood. These verbs do not tell us how many people are doing the work or when the work is being done, but they tell us the mood of the action. Mood of the action can be, as I told, it can be either anger, or it can be a requesting tone, or it can be a suggestion, it can be expressing a possibility, it can be giving a warning, anything it can be. So there are 9 words that come under this category. One is can, the next one is could, will, would, shall, should, may, might and must. Using these words we can show different moods related to the action that we are doing. For example, if I just say, could you please give your pen for some time? Now this is a requesting tone. If I just say, will you shut up your mouth? That will be an order, or that shows the anger in the speaker's tone. If you just say, may I come in? It's a way of asking permission. So we have different moods that can be conveyed through these models. We can convey the ability of a person or the doer. We can convey the possibility. We can convey a warning. We can convey an obligation. We can convey possibility, and we can convey so many things using the modal verbs. So these 9 are the modal verbs. In the next video I am going to discuss in detail about the modals. So these 2 together make the auxiliary verbs. The first subcategory is primary auxiliary verbs, which are 14, and the second subcategory is the modals, which are 9. Altogether we have 23. And in addition to these 9 modals, even some of the advanced grammar books or websites and even grammarians even consider ought to, need to and dare to as 3 more additional models: ought to, need to, and dare to. So anyway, keeping these three aside, we have 23 auxiliary verbs, 14 primary auxiliary verbs, and 9 models. Now we have come to the third category called as linking verbs. Linking verbs are also called as copular verbs. As the name itself indicates, their work is to link. They do not indicate an action, they do not support an action, they just link one with something else. What do they link? They link the subject in a sentence. Subject is anything or anyone about whom we are speaking in the sentence with another part of the sentence. Another part of the sentence is usually about the quality or state of the subject. It can be anything. It can be the profession of the person, it can be the character of the person, it can be behavior of the person, it can be anything that describes a person. For example, if I say, he is honest. When I say he is honest, honest is a quality and he is a person. For example, if I say Prajwal is honest, so Prajwal is the person, honest is the word. I am just combining both of them and saying Prajwal is honest. So what is the word is here? Is called as a linking verb. Okay. Is it doing any action? Is it an action word? No. Is it helping an action? There is no action happening in this sentence. Then there is no question of helping any work. It is simply linking Prajwal with his quality. Prajwal is honest. If you say something like Rakshita is a doctor, then again Rakshita is the subject of the sentence about whom we are speaking in this sentence. Rakshita is a doctor. A doctor is the profession of Rakshita. So we are simply connecting the first word, which is the subject, with either the quality or the profession or the character or the attitude or anything about that subject. So that's what we call it as the linking verb. Linking verbs can be is, was, were, are, etc. Okay, so they are dangerous. They are dangerous. There is no work going on. They are dangerous. Are is a linking verb. For example, people were cruel in that country. So were cruel. It is telling the quality of those people. Okay, we just say Egyptians were creative. So many such words can be connected with another word using the linking verbs. Other than is, are, was, were, there are so many other linking verbs which are there in English. We are going to see them in a separate video here. So we have learned three types: the main verbs, the auxiliary verbs, and the linking verbs. So we have finished the first module, the introductory modules of the basic types of verbs based on their functions. Are they functioning as the work? Are they functioning as the helping verbs? Are they functioning as the linking verbs? So there is a lot to learn about all these, which we are going to see in the upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. Take care.